about this anymore. I used to feel so awkward, but I think I've got a lot of practice. With anything, when you feel embarrassed, the more you do it, the less awkward you will feel. So in London, I used to have a goal where I would have to walk 5,000 steps every day, which, I think is quite impressive for someone who works behind a computer. So I tried to do 5,000 steps, and what I would do is I would go for a walk. When I would reach 2,500, I would suddenly turn around and go home. And some people would look at me a bit weirdly, like, why is he turning around so abruptly? Why is he so sudden? What's wrong? That's what it seemed like anyway. But eventually I just stopped caring, They probably don't notice that much, they probably don't care that much. So that one is not a big problem for me anymore. Anyway. There was another one here, which I found very funny. Have you ever been bowling before? Bowling. We call it a bowling alley, which is the place where you go bowling, the building, a bowling alley. I used to go bowling a lot with my friends because we had a bowling alley in our city. The police have found me. I don't know if you can hear that. And yeah, so, for those who don't know, maybe you're not sure about the English word, this is where you have the big heavy bowling ball with the holes in it, hold it between your 3 fingers, or 2 fingers and thumb, roll it down the lane, we call it a lane, and it hits the pins at the end. So your goal is to knock over all the pins. Someone here said a really embarrassing thing is walking back to your seat after taking your go at bowling. Why is that so awkward? Why is that so true? I relate to this so much. You've just knocked down some pins, you have to turn around, walk back to your seat. All of your friends are staring at you, and then you feel a bit awkward, like, what do I do? What's my body language like? It's a bit weird. And someone else said here it's kind of the equivalent of walking away from a explosion, especially when you hit that strike. You hit all the pins down. You kind of have that feeling of pride, but also awkwardness. And I wonder if this is a British thing. Like, I feel like in the UK, we don't like to show our achievements too much. If we get promoted or we have some really big achievement, we feel awkward if we share it with other people too much. I've noticed this with many other people here too. So maybe it's something like that. We don't want to share that pride with others. It's like, it's no big deal, whatever. So yeah, let me know if you guys can relate to that one as well. This one is super funny and super relatable. So this is asking someone next to you on the train to get up so you can leave. For me, I am a experienced professional train rider by now, because I take the train probably on average several times a week, at least once a week anyway. I probably spent a small fortune on train tickets over my life. And yeah, this is always so awkward. For me, when I know my stop is coming up and I've got to leave the train, this anxiety starts coming up within me quite early, Oh no, I've got to ask them to move, and it's going to be awkward. What do I do? How do I tell them? I'm preparing the sentence in my head, and I kind of sound like a crazy person now, don't I? But I notice this in me sometimes. And someone commented here exactly what you should do, what you do in the UK, which is when you start to kind of shuffle forward in your seat. Like, you kind of move forward, you sit up straight, you start jiggling your bag. To jiggle is like to shake your bag. And this is to indicate to everyone around you that you are about to stand up. And I think this is the unspoken rule of train etiquette, that you kind of prepare people for this. Some people will get the hint. Someone in the comments here said, in London, you never have to ask anyone. People understand that moving, the shuffling and jiggling, means that you want to leave. However, in other places, you probably have to tell them as well. But someone here left a very interesting comment about what the exchange is like. And they said the typical exchange goes something like this. Like, sorry, can I just... yeah, of course, sorry. Right, so in the English textbook, you might learn something like you have to say, excuse me, would you mind if would you be able to move out the way so I could get up and leave the train? Of course. Thank you ever so much. You're welcome. That might be a standard interaction from a textbook. But in reality, a lot of the question is just implied, So the person one will just say, sorry, can I just... And it's obvious what they want to do. So yes, of course, sorry. And then the original person says one more time, sorry. So everyone says sorry. It's very awkward. Yeah, there's that. So that's why it's nice to travel with someone else, so you don't have to do that, right? I mean, honestly, if I'm traveling only a short distance, like less than 5 minutes, maybe less than 10 minutes, I might just stand up anyway because I can avoid that problem. But what do you guys think? Am I a crazy person, or is this relatable to you? The last one here, which I think I mentioned on I was a guest on Luke's English podcast before, and it was a really enjoyable one where we spoke about awkwardness. I am a self-proclaimed awkward person. Self-proclaimed means I admit it myself. I have given myself that label, self-proclaimed. And we spoke all about feeling awkward, and we connected it to this idea of British awkwardness as well. And one that we mentioned that I find really funny is leaving a shop without buying anything. I feel awkward just thinking about it. And the reason why I want to mention this is because it happened, 30 minutes ago? I just went out, I went to the shop looking for something, and they didn't have what I wanted. And I had to kind of walk out and, what do you do in that situation? If you make eye contact with the shop owner, they might get suspicious of you, like, why are you looking at me? If you look at the ground, then they're going to get suspicious of you. I feel like whatever I'm doing, I look suspicious. Suspicious, by the way, is when you do something to make someone not trust you, right? You look a bit, like you're doing something naughty or bad. And maybe I still have this image in my head that I look like a teenager, that I look a bit, suspicious. Maybe the image of myself hasn't grown up yet, where I'm actually an adult and I look more sensible than I think, possibly. I don't know. But I always feel so awkward, and when they look at me, I'm thinking, they're thinking I'm stealing something, aren't they? And then in my head constantly, it's like, what can I do to look the least suspicious? What can I do to look normal? And I don't know if you've tried this before, but when you're trying to look normal, you look way more suspicious. You're going to look so strange trying to look normal. So it just gets it gets worse and worse. It spirals down and gets worse. And yeah, this is the worst one for me. I haven't got over this yet. I think one thing I might start doing a bit more is just talking to people. I think walking in and saying hi, when you leave you say thank you. I think that's probably a good way to avoid this awkwardness, because I don't think a thief would say thank you. If you really stole something, why would you say thank you? But anyway, I guess I'll leave it here for today, but let me know in the comments if any of these are relatable for you. Again, you can go to levelupenglish.school/podcast177. Head over to the show notes, leave a comment at the bottom. Let me know if you agree with anything I said today. And even better, let me know if there's another embarrassing thing that you experience that shouldn't be embarrassing. That would be interesting to hear too. I'd love to hear if you have any ideas. I am going to quickly read a couple podcast reviews now, and then share with you something I posted on Instagram earlier. So I have one here from Abdul Aziz A9A from Saudi Arabia. And he said, "Thank you, Mr. Michael, for the distinguished podcast. It honestly improved my listening skill. And your podcast is one of the podcasts worth listening to because you narrate many different topics that was so funny." That's good. Well, I'm not sure what I said that was funny. I don't think I'm that funny, but thank you very much for saying so. That's very kind. One last one here from Yawad Baksh, something like that, who said, "Your broadcast helped me on my IELTS exam." Thanks a lot, man. My pleasure. I'm really glad it did help. I do have some more IELTS topics and